All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Give me a touch on the top prop bets today on Saturday for both Prize Picks and Underdog. It is a college basketball Saturday, so we have a lot of decent prop bets for college basketball. Going to be touching on those, and we'll also be touching on the top prop bets in the NBA. I will be putting out an NFL video as well later on today for the Super Bowl. Already had put out a video for that, but I'm going to be doing another one here because we are getting more prop bets that are somewhat decent, so I wanted to touch on those. With that, guys, let's go ahead and get into today's video. And typically speaking, I would start off with Prize Picks, but I actually want to start off with Underdog, okay? Because Underdog, just for whatever reason, we seem to be getting bigger and better edges on that side for the most part. So we're going to go ahead and jump on into the Underdog cheat sheet. And so looking at it, guys, one of the best bets that we have on the board is actually going to be Walter Clayton Jr. for under his fantasy score. We're going to see that on Underdog, they currently are too high. 26.2 is too high. You look at the average sportsbook line, they would have it closer to 21.5. The projection data does like it more at about 26. The Prize Picks line about 24.5. So sure, the average sportsbook line, the sportsbook data could potentially be a little bit too low with that, honestly. But regardless, the Underdog line is telling us that that line is a little bit too high. And the one issue that we're going to have here with him is that he has been going off recently, right? He has been dominating, but it's the matchup here with Auburn. Obviously, Auburn, a great team. I don't think I need to tell you guys that. So it's more a bet on the matchup being difficult enough to prevent him from having a good game. So that's really what we're betting on here. Now, if you guys are looking at this, be like, no, I need to bet on his over, whatever. Do that on Prize Picks then. Make sure you're making the best bet possible on each and every slate. And then from there, we can kind of go down the board. So we got Thomas for under his fantasy score. Again, compared to the average sportsbook line, that's clearly a good edge for us. Josh Dix for under his fantasy score. That's another good one. I do want to call out that with Iowa, we are seemingly getting a lot of pretty big prop line differences. So I'm going to sort by college basketball here, and we're going to flip it around. So look at some of these big prop line differences that we were getting between Prize Picks and Underdog. These are not necessarily massive edges, like 53% likely to hit for both of them. But when we compare it against all the other data that we're getting here, it does kind of add up. And so looking at it, guys, Danny Wolf for under his fantasy score of 36.5, rounding up, compared to the average sportsbook line, compared to the Prize Picks line, that's a pretty good edge for us. Same thing with Peyton Sanford here as well, where, you look at the Underdog line, clearly a little bit too high. And so this is kind of telling me that we could use those two here with Josh Dix for under his fantasy score as well. And we have three pretty good bets there in that game where we're mostly just betting on that game being low scoring. And honestly, just Underdog seems to be clearly wrong with their lines on that. Now, could they end up being right? Sure. But it's always about making the best bets possible. And that's what we are doing here with those three. And so just looking at guys, so Sanford under fantasy score, Josh Dix under fantasy score. And sorry, Danny Wolf, I got thrown off by the jerseys. Danny Wolf is on Michigan. Okay, so maybe just Payne Sanford and also Josh Dix. Now, Wisconsin's a weird team. Like they've been scoring a lot recently, so maybe it ends up being a higher scoring game. So that could be unfortunate there. And again, apologies for the Danny Wolf thing. Let's see here. Gosh, so many bets. All right, so from there, we're getting Ziegler for, under his PRA. That's a decent bet. Chase Hunter for under his fantasy score. That's a decent bet there as well. Bello for under his fantasy score. Again, just all about making the best decision possible here. We are seeing that, looking at the average sportsbook line, looking at the Prize Picks line, the Underdog line does seem to be a little bit too high there. Coleman Hawkins, we'll actually be betting on his over on Prize Picks. I'll touch on that in just a second. Neil for under his fantasy score. Guys, we are just getting so many decent edges. Dawson Garcia for under his fantasy score. Now, do we need to dip down into bets that are 54% or lower than 54% likely to hit? I don't think so. We are going to be getting plenty of good bets today. So to me, it's going to be kind of simple in terms of where we're going to be attacking this slate. Now, guys, this was my bet slip, and I say was because this game's going to be live by the time this video gets uploaded. This game's going to be live by the time this video is uploaded. On here, they had just bumped up Hunter Dickinson for over his fantasy score. But all the other ones are still very solid bets. Chase Ross for over his fantasy score, solid. Just make the best decisions possible, obviously. We're getting plenty of good Underdog bets. So let's go ahead now and jump on into the Prize Picks bets. But first, guys, if you guys are interested in using those Underdog picks and you guys have never signed up before, make sure you use the promo code 925, the letter spelled out. They'll give you guys a $50 or 50% deposit match there. Take advantage of that. It's an easy way to help out the channel. All right, so jumping on into the Prize Picks bets, guys. We got Reynard for under his fantasy score. Again, just a little bit too high compared to what Vegas is thinking here. That's been the norm. I don't know. It's just people are tending to bet more overs in college basketball, which leads us to getting a lot of good edges on Prize Picks because of that. But seemingly, we're always getting a lot of good under bets. We're getting Ace Baldwin Jr. for under his fantasy score. Decent prop bet there. Chase Hunter for under his fantasy score. That's a decent prop bet there. Still a solid bet there on underdog there as well. And so again, guys, the issue is we're just getting like too many solid bets on the day today. It's always more difficult to like narrow it down in terms of, all right, these are the best bets to just simply go out of your way to target. And guys, that will be updating throughout the day, okay, those college basketball prop bets. But again, we are clearly getting some better edges on underdogs. So that's where we're going to be attacking the slate mostly as it sits right now. So I do want to go ahead and now get into the NBA prop bets. And so looking at it, guys, we are getting, again, a lot of decent fantasy score prop bets. A lot of ones where the data does agree as well. So Isaiah Hartenstein for under his fantasy score, pretty solid bet here. The NBA bets ended up doing pretty darn good yesterday again. It's so weird how sometimes it's like different between the sports. So like college basketball yesterday was like fine. It was like about, I know the bet of the day only went, I think 2 for 5. We had a DMP, but on the day as a whole, it was fine. It was like kind of a push day, but we ended up getting like Joel Embiid as a lock bet, quote unquote lock bet, basically a bet that's checking all the boxes because PrizePicks was a little bit too high on him after the underdog lines came out. So again, just want to reiterate, want to be making the best decisions possible. We can do that once we get those underdog lines. But looking at Isaiah Hartenstein for under his fantasy score, fine with that. Anika Ganku, sure, he gets an easy matchup that could vault him to get in the over, and it is a pretty good high pace up spot. Teams are looking differently. Washington obviously made a trade. Maybe their defense honestly gets better with Kyle Kuzma not there. We'll see, but that's a good edge that we're getting. Jalen Green for under his fantasy score, Pascal Siakam for under his fantasy score, Ant-Man for under his fantasy score. Plenty of good under fantasy score prop bets, guys. So it's going to be pretty simple to make a good PrizePicks bet slip here. So with that, let's go ahead and do that. If you guys are looking to sign up for a 9-to-5 membership, you guys will get access to the fantasy golf tools. It's we're deep into the fantasy golf season right now. You guys will also get access to the PrizePicks Underdog prop cheat sheets as well. You guys can get access to all those for just $10 a month. Take advantage of that, guys. Make the best decisions possible each and every slate. If you guys are ever curious as to what goes into a tool, head on over to the 9-to-5 membership page. Scroll down to the bottom, and you guys can get the video that covers the 9-to-5 membership. All right, so getting into the 9-to-5 bet of the day. Again, guys, gave out the underdog bet already for college basketball. And then right now we're doing Raynard for under his fantasy score, but it's a big college basketball slate. We are going to begin more and more good under fantasy score prop bets, or hopefully over fantasy score prop bets as well. But right now we are looking at some of those NBA bets as some of our bigger edges as it sits right now here as well. Obviously getting a lot of good prop bets. This is going to be a pretty high volume day here, guys. So I'm going to be placing a lot of bets myself right after this video is posted. All right, that is going to be all, guys. Again, if you guys want access to the tools, make sure to head on over to 9to5sports.com. Get access to all those tools for $10 a month. Thank you guys for watching. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel as well. That's all. And as always, let's keep cashing.